Today I'd like to briefly talk about the management of powdery mildew on grapevines here in Colorado. First, a few things to consider are that powdery mildew is everywhere here in Colorado, and it is actually considered the most significant disease according to the Colorado Grape Growers Guide. And even though Colorado has low humidity, dense vine canopies and irrigation make perfect microclimates for powdery mildew. And typically, following the practices that they use in California vineyards is not always a good idea. Moving on to some signs and symptoms, powdery mildew can infect all green tissues as well as the grape clusters. The fungus appears as white or grayish powder on leaf surfaces, but this doesn't mean it can't spread to the underside of the leaves as well. Heavily infected leaves may turn chlorotic, curl, and drop off of the vine. White powdery masses may form on the grape clusters, causing the berries to crack and shrivel. And finally, infected canes will develop a reddish brown to black lesion that will remain as brown patches through the dormant season. In order to manage powdery mildew, you'll want to reduce the overall humidity within the vineyard by increasing air circulation and light penetration of the vine canopies. And this can be done with defoliation, like in the images on the right, or even thinning of some of the grape clusters. Avoid use of overhead sprinkler irrigation so as to limit the moisture that sits on the leaf surfaces. And finally, apply a fungicide as needed. I actually had some personal experience with powdery mildew while I worked at the Western Colorado Research Center in Grand Junction. I understand according to the Colorado Grape Growers Guide, fungicides should be used on a 7 to 14 day interval starting at bud break through veraison. Unfortunately, this practice is based on research done on California vineyards, and we found is actually impractical for Colorado due to differences in climate and overall economic value. What worked for us was just as we were doing our daily tasks in the vineyard, was just to keep an eye out for powdery mildew, and then we would spray once we saw it. So in conclusion, powdery mildew is everywhere in Colorado and is very significant. Infection can occur on all green tissues and grape clusters, so just remember to try and reduce humidity, increase airflow, and avoid overhead sprinkler systems. Apply fungicides only when needed, and don't feel like you have to follow what California is doing. And while working in the vineyard, always keep an eye out for any sign or symptom of powdery mildew as well as any other disease. Thank you.